So we just learned the formula on how to play a major scale. Let's review that really quickly and let's exercise a little bit more here. So in the C major scale, this is the simplest way to look at this because there are no black keys. We're going from C to D, and that was our first skip. D to E, that was our second skip. And again, what are we skipping? We're skipping a key on the piano. If you're going from bottom to top or from left to right, are you running into anything first? So if I'm starting on C and then I start moving to the right, I actually bump into this black key here, and that's the one we're skipping. So from the first degree of the scale to the second, we're skipping this black key because that's the first one we run into. Now, if we're going to go from the second degree of the scale to the third, which is D to E, you'll notice we're bumping into this black key. So again, that's the one we're skipping. Going from the third degree of the scale to the fourth, we're not bumping into anything here. We're just moving right along. Now, from fourth to fifth, we have a skip again, and that's what we're skipping there, is that black key. And when we go from fifth to sixth, again, we would be bumping into this black key, so that's the one we're skipping. When we go from sixth to seventh, we're skipping this black key here. And then from seventh degree to eighth degree in the scale, and eighth is the tonic, that's the same as where we started, there's no skip. There's nothing here. Okay, so let's try to figure out a couple more major scales. I'm just going to randomly pick a key. Okay, so I happen to pick this key right here. It could be either a G sharp or an A flat. Okay, so from here to the next key, and we don't need to worry about the names right now because if we pick G sharp or A flat, one of them could end up being messy, have too many sharps, or maybe even double sharps and double flats, and that's something we don't need to worry about. So from the first degree of the scale to the second, we want to skip. So I'm going to have to skip the white key because that's the next one and go right to the next black key. From second degree to third, we need to skip again. So in this case, if I'm moving from left to right, I would be bumping into this white key. So that's the one we're going to skip, and we're going to go to the next white key. So far we have these keys in this major scale that we're trying to figure out. From third degree of the scale to fourth, there should be no skip. So that means the next key I bump into, which is this black key, is next in line. So right now, we have these four keys. Okay, now from fourth to fifth, we want to skip. So we're going to end up skipping another white key and going to a black key here. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm trying to play these all together here. Perfect. And now from fifth degree of the scale to sixth, we learn that we also have a skip. So the next key I have in line would be a white key. That's the one we're going to skip. And we're going to go right to this key here. Now from sixth degree to seventh, we also had a skip. So it looks like I'm going to have to skip this black key because that's next in line and go to the next white key. And then from seventh to eighth, there was no skip. So we go right to the key that we started on. Okay, so here are the keys that we ended up playing. So let's figure out the name of this major scale. So if we're going to call it G sharp major, then we want to make sure we're not repeating any letter names and we're not skipping any letter names either. Okay, so here we have a G sharp. Then next we're going to have some sort of A. And in this case, it's going to have to be an A sharp. After A, we get B. We're going to hear those, so this is going to have to be a B sharp. Then we go to here. We already had B, so next we need a C. This is going to have to be a C sharp. Then after C we have D, but we had a black key, so it has to be the D sharp. Then we jumped up to here. Now we already played a D, so next we need to do is play an E. E is here, so this is going to have to be called E sharp. And then we go to here. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because I would like to call this a G, but we didn't use the letter F yet in the scale. So I would have to call it F double sharp. After F, we get G. So we get G sharp. Okay, that works, but no, we had this F double sharp, and that's not what we want, because when we actually start writing music on the paper or on our programs, using those double sharps gets a little bit messy. So let's go back, and instead of calling it G sharp, let's call it A flat. Okay, so if this is an A flat, then next we're going to have this black key, which we're going to call B flat. Then we had this white key here. Perfect. We can just call it a C. We don't need to add the flat or the sharp symbols there. Then we had this black key. We have to use the letter D next, so it's going to have to be D flat. After D, we have E, but we have a black key on the keyboard, so we're going to have to call it E flat. We ended up moving up to this white key. We can just call it F because we already used E. Then we had another white key. We can just call that G. Perfect. And then if we go up to the tonic note again, we have A flat, and that's where we started. So it's probably ideal to call it A flat major. It's a lot easier. Okay, let's figure out one more major scale. We'll do this one a little bit faster. I'm gonna pick a random key. Okay, I picked a C. No, we already did that. You know what? It's a B. Let's figure out B major. And probably not C flat major and not A double sharp major. That would just be a mess. So let's just stick to the name of that white key that we have. It usually works out to be a lot easier. So if we're going to call this a B, we want to do a skip. So we end up going to a black key next. We're going to call that C sharp. Then from second to third, we have another skip. So I'm going to skip this white key here. From third to fourth, no skip. So we just go up to the next key. Now from fourth to fifth, we want to skip. From fifth to sixth, we want to skip. And then from sixth to seventh, we want to skip. And then from seventh to the tonic to the eighth, we have no skip. And there's the B major scale. If you want to play around with different fingers, then ideally what you want is your thumbs generally play the white keys. If you look, your thumb is a lot shorter than your other fingers, and the white keys are a lot closer to your body than the black keys. So we tend to use our longer fingers for the black keys. So if you want to try to figure out some sort of fingering for this scale, and B major fits really nicely under the fingers, then you can play around with those different fingerings.